So DNA matches. After you get your DNA results on MyHeritage, you can see your ethnicity estimate results, but we have also DNA matches. And DNA matches are useful things, useful tools or like data or information to know more about your family and to answer your research questions. Now, the more DNA matches is the merrier. We love DNA matches. When you have more of them, you have more data to use and to analyze and to find new relatives that you didn't know before. And when you get your DNA matches, it comes with a lot of information about these people. It's not just about the quality of the DNA that you share, but it's also other things like the surnames that you share or the ethnicities or the genetic groups that you share. But it also comes down to the things that you don't share that can help you understand more about the matches. So, regarding matches and genetic genealogy research. And it's always good to have a clear goal or question in mind when doing your research work. And each one of us can have different goals when looking or working with DNA. And it can be like breaking a brick wall in my family tree. I have someone in my family tree that I don't know, and I want to pinpoint him or her and find more information about them. Other people can have a different research goal, like finding and researching a specific ancestor or ancestral couple. And it sometimes can be just finding and connecting with relatives that we didn't know before. So there can be a lot of different goals, but when you look at DNA matches in specific, you have the questions that you want to answer that will help you. So when you find your DNA match, you usually ask, who is this person? How is he related to me, or are they related to me? And through whom? Who is our common ancestor? And that's why we're here, because MyHeritage have a lot of types of tools to help you answer these questions. And if we can divide them by two types of tools that relying on the genetic data and those that are relying on the genealogical data. And these tools and features provide you the information needed. And they all are available through all of your matches. I want to talk about how we go from point A to B, from DNA to finding relationship. So let's say I have a match. In this case, Homer Simpson, which I always love to use his help when demonstrating our useful feature. And when looking at the DNA match card in the DNA matches list, I see a lot of information on each DNA match. First of all, I see this person name. I can also see his age and where is he from. Also, I can see the DNA match quality, which is the DNA information that we found. And we also can see the genealogical data that I mentioned before. So I can see if this person appears in a family tree. I can see if we have shared ancestral surnames, smart matches, places. All of this is highlighted for you in the DNA match card. So it helps you to understand if you have plenty of information to go and drill down this match. So let's explain a few terms. Shared DNA is the total length of DNA that is identical between you and another person, between me and Omer, for example. The CentiMorgan is actually a unit of genetic distance, and it's used to measure the amount of shared DNA that you have with the match. So you look at the shared DNA, and CentiMorgan is the unit of measurement that shows it. And shared DNA segments are actually pieces of the DNA that you and the DNA match share, and most likely inherited from a common ancestor. And these are also very useful, and later on I will show how you can use them. Fun fact about CentiMorgan, because it sometimes can be a bit misleading. So I wanted to show you where does it come from. So on the left side, you can see actually a chromosome, and you can see different DNA strains in the chromosome, which are expressed as genes. And it's interesting to know that a CentiMorgan is a proxy for genetic distance, but it's not actually measuring distance. It's actually a frequency measurement. One CentiMorgan actually means there is 1% chance to have a recombination. Now, what is a recombination? A recombination is where there is an exchange of genes between two different organisms, between two different people, and that leads to an offspring, which is a very fancy term to say that two people got together and had a baby. And recombination actually means that the genes from person A and the genes from person B created together a new person that has the genes from A and B. And the further apart the genes are, the recombination frequency is higher. So the more CentiMorgans that we share with a person means is further related to us. Also a fun fact, CentiMorgan actually was named in the honor of Thomas Hunt Morgan, who was a very known scientist that received a Nobel Prize on his work on how genes are arranged on the chromosome and how gene inheritance works. So CentiMorgans comes from the name Morgan. Okay, so now we talked about DNA and the amount of DNA that we share. Now let's see how it indicates us on a relationship with a person. So let's start with the 100% DNA. Let's start with myself. The 100% DNA actually represent the amount of DNA that I have in total. Now, 50% means that we share that with one of our parents or a child of ours. So we get 50% of our DNA from our mom and 50% of DNA from our dad. And we inherit 50% of our DNA to our offspring, to our child. So 50% represents either parents or child relationship. Now, 25%. Let's go down. So we share 25% with our grandmother, each of our grandmothers, and 25% with each of our grandfathers. But in terms of genetic, it's actually the same amount that we share also with a person that can be our uncle or aunt, or a person that can be our niece or nephew or grandchild. So if we look at the DNA information, at the genetic information, it indicates us on relationship. But there are relationships that they are genetically equivalent. The amount of DNA that we share with these people is the same, but the type of relationship is different. Let's continue and look at 12.5% of shared DNA. And in that case, it will be either one of our 8 great-grandparent or great-uncle or first cousin or grand-niece-nephew. So again, and if I move down to 6.25%, then it will go further away. So the first conclusion is that the amount of DNA that we share with a person indicates on the relationship types. And the second conclusion is that the more DNA that we share, the closer this person is to me. 6.25% means this person can be maybe our first cousin once removed, which is the cousin of our parent or the child of our first cousin. But 50% means that it can be either our child or one of our parents. The shared DNA in half relationship is kind of tricky. So if you remembered before, I showed you that 25% of DNA we share with one of our grandparents, or our uncle, aunt, niece, nephew, grandchild. But in terms of genetic, and we call it genetically equivalent relationship, we can also share 25% with someone who is our half sibling. So there is another relationship type that comes into the equation. Now, if I know that I have a half siblings and I expect to get a match with a half sibling, then everything is perfect. But what happens if I don't know? And what happens if this half relationship can be also first cousin or half first cousin or half second cousin? So we need to look at something else. We need to look at more data points. And this is the point where our science team gathered a lot of data points, a lot of information from MyHeritage, from MyHeritage family trees. And they actually looked at the age difference, at the average age difference in each type of relationship. So we look at people that they know for sure, and we know that they are grandparents, grandchild. Someone is a grandparent to someone, or someone is a grandchild to someone. Same as for aunt and niece, and same for half siblings. Now, if we just look at the amount of shared DNA, they all look pretty much the same. We cannot tell. But once they draw the age difference, you can see there are differences in that. So someone who is my grandchild will be on average 60 years younger than me. But if someone will be my half sibling, it can be from 1 to 30 years of difference. So when we combined the data points of the amount of shared DNA and the age difference, and obviously there was a lot of mathematical process that used to combine probabilities and looked at the distributions, we found that we can provide different probabilities for different relationships based on these two things, based on the amount of shared DNA and the age difference, or your age and your match's age. And this is where the CM Explainer, the latest tool, came in. It actually fine-tunes the relationship prediction using ages. And there are a lot of predictors that use shared DNA amount, CentiMorgan. But once you take into the equation the ages of the two sides, you can fine-tune the probabilities. For example, here in the CM Explainer, you can see there is 1,700 shared DNA, 1,700 CentiMorgan. One person age, my age, is 33. My match's age is 41. In that case, it's most likely that this match will be my half sibling. And you can see the probability. And that's because we are closer at age. It's less likely that with an 8-year difference between us, it will be my uncle or aunt, because uncle or aunt is one generation above us. Using the ages, we can tell which generation this person is most likely and increase the probability. So we know that Samuel, which is in his 50s, is probably my parents' first cousin and not my first cousin child. Now, if I click on the probable relationship here, there will be a pop-up opened, and this is from the DNA matches list. And I can actually see the results the CM Explainer predicted. So the table below actually shows how Samuel might be related to me. So I can see that the highest probability, 80.5, that he is my parents' first cousin. There are also other possible relationships, but they are less likely. Now, I want to show you more things about the CM Explainer. So let's drill down into the review DNA match. So first of all, I can see the probable relationship as we saw earlier in the DNA match. And below that, you can actually see the possible relationship with Samuel. So this is the table, and it shows me same as you saw earlier in the pop-up, the same relationship, the possible relationship. So I can see each possible relationship. I have a parent's first cousin, or half uncle, half first cousin, and second cousin. And I can actually see the probability, how likely that Samuel is my parent's first cousin, or how likely that Samuel is my half uncle. And the CM Explainer algorithm calculate that based on the amount of shared DNA and based on our ages, if available. Obviously, if one chooses to have his or her age privatized, then it will not be used. But the ages actually are able to rule out or reduce probability for certain relationship and increase others. And that helps you to pinpoint you to the relationship that you need to look at, and that will help you in your research question. How is this person related to me? Now we can see there are a couple of icons here next to the half uncle and half first cousin. We just wanted to indicate you because sometimes it can be misleading when saying half first cousin. It's not that clear, but we just tell you that Samuel might be your half first cousin. And remember before with the Simpson family, in that case, you would share only one most recent common ancestor, not a couple. And in that case, it will be a single grandparent. So for each relationship and each probability, we also show you the most recent common ancestor or most recent common ancestors, an ancestral couple. And if the relationship is full, like parents' first cousin, then the most recent common ancestor will be my great-grandparents. So I can know to focus on my great-grandparents' family line. And if Samuel will be my half-first cousin, for example, then we will share only one grandparent, not two, like we saw earlier. Now you can see here there are more to see, and you can click on Show More Relationship plus Diagram. Now, once you do that, a diagram will be opened. And you can actually see below the table that we indicated how the relationship and probabilities were calculated. In that case of me and Samuel, the CM explainer calculated the relationship and probabilities based on the amount of DNA that we share and both of our ages. Now, even if there's only my age available, and Samuel did not report his age or choose to privatize it, we can still enhance and fine-tune the results based on one side. And if there are no ages, we can still give you the predictions. And this diagram actually shows you the same possible relationship, but it also helps you to visualize the paths to your DNA match. Now, this is not a family tree. This is actually an aid to show you how you are connected to your DNA match. Now, you can see on the right, there's a view. Now, this is kind of blank. I'm sorry for that. But this is a drop-down that you can actually choose to change the view of the table. What I did here is I changed the view from full relationships to half relationships. So we can actually choose on which type of relationship to focus on. Because some of us, as we said, I mean, some of us know that we are looking for half relationships. Some of us know, and we know that it's only a full relationship. So we can choose on which type of relationship to look at. So once I change it to half relationships, I can actually see these options on the tree. And you remember, half relationship means we only share one common ancestor. So if Samuel was my half uncle or aunt, in that case uncle, then we only have one grandparent. Now, again, it's blurred, but I can also see all types of relationships here. So in that view, I can actually see both the full relationship and the half relationship. Now, you can see the checkbox here says show probabilities for MRCA. Now, what does that mean? Well, there's different probabilities for different relationship types, but some relationship types might be different, like parents' first cousin and second cousin, which you can see here. But these two relationships, which are different, still means that I share with that person the same common ancestor, great-great-parents. So going back to our research questions, it sometimes interests us to know through whom we are related to this person. Sometimes it doesn't matter on which generation. Sometimes we want to focus on this part. And in that case, once you click on the checkbox of show probabilities for MRCA, we actually show you the overall probability that you and this DNA match share one of these specific most recent common ancestor. The most recent common ancestor is the closest shared ancestor of you and your DNA match. There are a lot of tools that we haven't got a chance to cover today, but I invite you to view other webinars and see how you can work with theory of family relativity or smart matches, DNA labels to help you organize your DNA matches. But I believe that these tools will help you get the most out of your DNA matches. And with that note, I will conclude our session today. And I want to thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any more questions, visit the MyHeritage Help Center or the knowledge base. We have a lot of blogs and information there that can help you learn more about our features, but also about DNA. And thank you, everyone.